Let's see, what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about a training center update that we added to our website. Just some additional procurement training that we're going to be adding to a section of the training center. BEP Veteran Goal Participation Facilitation. We'll talk about that. And then also there was a CPO notice that came out late last week that we'll go over. And then fun fact of the day and quote of the day. All right, so first up is the CPOGS Training Center. So we added a new section called procurement training in our on our website. And so when you go to the training center where you would see training Tuesdays and bid buy training, you'll also see procurement training. So let's go out and check that out real quick. So there's the link there on your on the CPOGS website, right? We have that training center on that main page. Click on training center. You're going to open that up. Like I said in the past, you would see Training Tuesdays. That hasn't changed. Bid Buy Training has the videos and links to all our Bid Buy monthly trainings and our practice sessions. But we also added an additional section called procurement training. So while a lot of our training does involve Bid Buy, of course, because that's our system and we're in and out of it every day, we also will have more generalized procurement training. So the one I just added this morning is small purchase training, is the small purchase slides. And so that really works off of the CPO Notice 2018.10 that lays out the small purchase process. So as always, the training group is available to provide the small purchase training or any other additional procurement training separate from bid buy. And so this is kind of the first installment of that. And this would look very similar. We went over this on a training Tuesday, I think last year, but we will provide additional content there that is, like I said, separate from bid buy, but it's just specific to procurement in general. Okay, so you can go out and take a look at the trainings that we have there, and more content will be added as we go along. Okay, we'll go back to our slides here. Next up is BEP and Veteran Goal Facilitation. So this is started just yesterday. This is really just a general heads up to the agencies. Goal facilitation is going to be conducted by SPOs and additional CPOGS staff. So this isn't going to change your processes. There's nothing from a responsibility standpoint that you guys will need to do or change. But we do want to let you know that you will start to see bid amendments added by your SPO regarding this. In the past, you may have and your agency may be doing some of this goal facilitation anyway, and that's absolutely totally fine as well. It's just it's going to be an initiative by the CPOGS staff to do the BEP and veteran goal facilitation. So there's a form that will be completed. We don't need to get into the weeds on what that process will be internally on the CPOGS side, but just want to give you a heads up that you will start to see those bid amendments done. And so essentially what will end up happening will be CPOGS staff will be contacting BEP and veteran companies that would be on a solicitation, and then that way really what we're looking for, primes and subcontractors are always looking to network with each other, and that's what this facilitation is all about. Again, on your end, nothing is going to be changing, but you will be seeing SPOs and CPOGS staff conducting that goal facilitation, and you'll see some bid amendments. Okay. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to your SPO, of course, regarding this. But we just wanted to let you know that that would be happening, and that is starting or started yesterday. Okay. All right. Next up is our CPO Notice 2022.02, which was just recently put out late last week. Let's go in and take a look at that. What it does is it really just updates the language. It rescinds CPO Notice 2021.05 and adds replaces the form regarding a contract renewal when there was a BEP goal. So let's go over again what that CPO notice is. Let's see how to pull it up here. Okay, so it's effective immediately. So this was last Thursday. Again, so this notice applies when a contract contains a BEP goal and an option for renewal. The contractor did not meet that BEP goal, and the contractor made a good faith effort to meet the BEP goal, and the agency and contractor seek to exercise the renewal. Again, so this only comes into play if the vendor did not meet that BEP contract percentage, and you still are looking to do a renewal. And so what happened, Public Act 102-29 amends that section of the procurement code, providing that no vendor shall be eligible for a renewal if that vendor failed to meet the goals agreed to in that BEP utilization plan. Unless the state agency determines that the vendor made a good faith effort toward meeting the contract goals and the chief procurement officer concurs with the agency's decision to issue a waiver. So what's really changing here? Um, from your standpoint, again, this isn't going to change much of what you have to do. We do have a replacement form, but it's not effectively it's not changing any of the real process there. So I want to go back to just the other CPO notice that was rescinded, just so you can see what was changing here. So if we go back to the other CPO notice, when that Public Act 101-657, it really comes down to the language there. So going back to requiring no vendor shall be eligible for renewal of the contract when the vendor failed to meet the goals agreed to, et cetera, et cetera. And then unless the state agency has determined that the vendor made good faith efforts toward meeting the contract goals and has issued a waiver, or that vendor is not otherwise excused from compliance by the CPO's office or by the chief procurement officer in consultation with the purchasing state agency, right? So what slightly changed here is, let's go back to the new CPO notice again, because of that public act. The trailer bill was signed by the governor, which changed this language slightly. So we'll go back to the other one, where vendor failed to meet the goals agreed to in the BEP plan unless the state agency determines that the vendor made a good faith effort toward meeting the goal and the chief procurement officer concurs with the agency's decision to issue a waiver. So again, effectively, it's not changing except for we do have the form. The chief procurement officer will sign the form or whether it's approved or denied. And so there is a form as well. So if we go to that form, again, it's a part of the CPO notice. It is good faith effort contract renewal waiver and concurrence form. You can see a name at the bottom is also version 22.1. Again, that's on our procurement resource library. It's also attached to the CPO notice as well in our CPO notices. So this form doesn't change a lot. There are very small differences, but again, you'll have to use this new form regarding if you're in that situation that we just spoke of. And at the very bottom, you see that where there is the agency head signature as well as the CPO signature. Okay. And again, if you have any specific questions regarding that, we'll be happy to answer them, or you can reach out to your SPO. Okay. So we really didn't have a whole lot of material for you this week. This was kind of a quick hit just to update you on those three things. We have our bid buy training. We'll have our monthly bid buy training the second Wednesday of each month. Also the second and third Thursdays, we will have our bid buy practice sessions as well. All right, so our fun fact of the day. Experiments in universities actually have been carried out to figure out how many licks it takes to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop, both with machine and human lickers, because of course this is important scientific knowledge. For those of you keeping track at home, the results range from 252 to 411. So if you remember those old commercials about the Tootsie Pops, so 252 to 411. We do have a question. Will the procurement training be a deep dive into the small purchase process? I guess it depends on what you mean by deep dive, but yes, absolutely, it'll be very specific to that. But again, it's separate from bid buy. If we want to do a combination, that could be something that might be more agency specific to you, and we'd be happy to provide that as well. It's just that procurement training section will be more specific to because again, remember, we kind of have two different tracks with some of our trainings. It's procurement training, um, those sorts of things that happen outside of bid buy and in general, um, talking about procurement. But then we also have bid buy specific. Sometimes we can combine those, but that procurement training will be those that, we'll add slides and we'll add some videos that I won't really get into bid buy and walk through all the tabs and all that sort of stuff, because we provide that training on a monthly basis, regardless, as a part of our bid buy monthly training. But we can absolutely do that. We have employees who have never done procurement coming into the process. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can reach out to us. We can do that separately. But a lot of times, it's just as a reminder too. Sometimes maybe I haven't done a small purchase in a while, and you can get that quick refresher of, okay, yeah, this is greater than $10,000. All right, it is set aside for small businesses, or if it's less than 10, there's those slides there. We just wanted to be able to get that content in a quick place, and small purchase seems like um, the broadest and um, the the procurement type that is done the most by the most people, I think. So we wanted to get that out there. It takes three. Listen to the owl. All right, that's great. And then our quote of the day: "Nothing is impossible. The word itself says I'm possible." I love that. I'm a sucker for a good quote like that. All right, everybody, have a great rest of your week. I know this one was kind of short, but we don't want to take up too much of your time. If you ever have any questions, you know where to find us. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Thank you.